Hey everybody, NecroVMX here, and it's time again for another video in the Top 10 Best Video Game Series Ever, where I take a look at the very best ongoing series in video games. Today, we're going to be taking a look at number 9. As many of you were able to tell by my recent playthrough of the game, I'm a big fan of Doom. I would even go so far as to call it one of the best, if not the best, video games ever created. It really is that good. And Doom is more than just one great video game, it's a series of great video games. There's been ups and downs throughout the series, but each of the games released is quality. And there's been 6 of them so far. There's been Doom, which has been re-released as the Ultimate Doom. There was Doom 2. There was Final Doom, which really is 2 games in one, TNT Evolution and the Plutonia Experiment. There was Doom 64, which is also called Doom the Absolution. And there was Doom 3, and most recently the expansion for Doom 3, which is called Doom Resurrection of Evil. And pretty soon there's going to be a Doom 4. Now, Doom 3 was a remake of the first game, so I don't know if Doom 4 is going to be a remake of Doom 2, but I think that would be pretty cool. Especially since, while Doom 2 is awesome, I always preferred the original, so I hope that they could improve on Doom 2 with the Hell on Earth concept using modern graphics. My favorite of the series, surprisingly enough, is Doom 64. I got this game on the Nintendo 64 very shortly after getting that system, and it was very addicting, and it was one of my favorite N64 games. And to this day I still play it, although today I play the PC version, which is called Doom the Absolution. And if anybody is looking for that, if you instant message me, I'll get you a link to where you can download it. But let me talk about Doom. Doom was one of the first first-person shooters. It wasn't the first. That title belongs to a game called Wolfenstein 3D. Wolfenstein 3D was made by the same company as Doom, id Software. Well, while Wolfenstein was great, it really was kind of limited. It only had three types of weapons, a limited amount of monsters, and basically was the same thing over and over again, with very little variety. Doom took everything about Wolfenstein and made it better. More weapons, more enemies, more variety in the levels, and as much as I like the idea of fighting Nazis in a giant castle, it didn't really look like a castle. The graphics in Doom are much better, as you can really get the feeling that you're in Tech Base, or you're on the surface of one of Mars's moons, or if you're in Hell, or if you're in Mars in Doom 3, or, whatever else that you might appear in. So, that's really what Doom is known for, is the graphics. Not because they're so amazing or revolutionary, although they were at the time when the game came out, but because they were scary. The game is, very dark, and it's also, a lot of blood and gore and guts and visceral images and monsters jumping out at you. A lot of people were scared to death by Doom when it first came out. And Doom 2 was, even more so, with the additional monsters that were even more frightening, such as the Revenant, the Mancubus, and such. And while Final Doom is just as good as Doom 2, maybe even a little bit better, because it's basically the same game, but it has even more levels, that one was kind of a disappointment in the terms of the graphics, because it came out at a time when, it came out, at a time when people were playing things more along the lines of, Half-Life and whatnot. Well, maybe not Half-Life was out at the time, but, we'd already played Quake. And that's another thing about Doom, is that it's been a huge inspiration to the first-person shooter genre. Although it created the first-person shooter genre with Wolfenstein 3D, it's Doom that really is the inspiration for most modern games. Are you sick of the idea of the Space Marine? It's an idea that's in every game almost, it seems sometimes. It came from Doom. Fighting monsters from hell, that came from Doom. A lot of the stuff that you would find in most modern games comes from Doom. And also the multiplayer is a huge thing. Now, Doom 64 is a favorite because it took the series even darker, and although a lot of Doom fans don't like it and they claim it doesn't feel like Doom because it's too dark and it's too frightening, I think they're idiots. And, that's all there is to say about that. Doom 3 is not as good as Doom 64, but it's still a great game. And they did a lot of stuff with storytelling in that and fleshing out the storyline. That was very good. And then, of course, there's Resurrection of Evil, which improved on the gameplay even more. So I'm really looking forward to playing Doom 4. Another thing that's pretty cool about Doom is the music. The music in the game is basically heavy metal, which is my favorite genre of music. Now, my friend Joey, who is known online as Death Toll, he moderates with me a metal sharing community on LiveJournal called Mandatory Metal, and recently he re-released his collection called The Bobby Prince is a Filthy Thief. Bobby Prince is the guy who did the music for Doom, and he basically took heavy metal tunes and changed them into MIDIs and, put them in the game. So that's why he's a filthy thief. But it's pretty cool that the songs in Doom and Doom 2 are based on songs by Metallica, Pantera, AC/DC, Judas Priest, Slayer, Stormtroopers of Death, Black Sabbath, and Alice in Chains. And so that's pretty cool. And also, the music in Doom 64 is amazing because it's very ambient and atmospheric and really makes the game much more frightening than all the others because of all the weird, creepy sound effects that are going on in the background and whatnot. And that a lot of that music was also found in the PlayStation version of Doom. Speaking of which, Doom is traditionally a PC game. All of the games have been released for home computers. However, there have over the years been console versions of Doom. For the Super NES, the Sega 32X, the PlayStation, the Jaguar, the Saturn, and the Game Boy Advance. I personally like to see it for the DS because I would love to see what you could do with the stylus. But, traditionally it's been a PC game. Doom 3, I think, was released on Xbox, and I don't think Resurrection of Evil was. And I don't think Final Doom has ever come to console either. And of course, Doom 64 started its life as a console game, although the PC version, although it's an unofficial game, the PC version is much better. So, if you love action games and if you love first-person shooters and you haven't played Doom or any of the Doom games, there's something wrong with you. So many of the series out there, like Quake and Duke Nukem and Half-Life and all these other Unreal Tournament, all these series that are pretty much dominating the first-person shooter genre these days, they all owe a lot to Doom. We all owe a lot to Doom. We all owe a lot to Wolfenstein 3D for creating the genre, but Doom popularized it and made it better. As a matter of fact, the term first-person shooter, or just shooter, wasn't used for a long time. As a matter of fact, this type of game used to simply be called Doom Clone. That's how important this game was, that it wasn't even the first of its kind, but it's considered so important that all games done in that style were called Doom clones. And this wasn't something that was being said in a negative or derogatory fashion, that's just the way it is. One last thing I want to mention about Doom is the user-created levels. That's right, you can make your own levels. They're called WADs, and you should definitely check some of those out, because some of them are amazing. Anyway, that's number 9. See you soon for number 8.